everyone. Today I'm going to walk you through the steps of making a coil bowl, but it's not just any coil bowl, it's kind of a specialty coil bowl, and you're going to need some clay, and you're going to need a bowl to use as a form to build on. And so I have a few different types of options here, and I'll kind of tell you what will work and what won't work. And so this is going to be much too large for purposes of our class. This is certainly a really lovely rounded shape, but much too large for what we're going to do right now. Okay, cereal bowl. This would work. Not a bad shape. Easy to work with, lightweight. It would be okay to use this. Now I'm left with these three. This one's going to be much too small. You can see how small it is in my hands. So for purposes of our class, this is going to be too small, although you certainly could do a project with this size, but it's going to be too small. So I'm left with these two. And so you can kind of see comparatively, here's my fist compared to the bowl. Okay, so they're both similarly sized. One has a higher side, one is taller and one is shorter. I'm actually going to work with this one because it's going to give me more space to build onto. And I'm going to start with it face down, and then you're going to use some saran wrap or plastic wrap right out of your kitchen pantry. All right, so we're going to cover this nice and tight. This is going to allow you to take your coils off when your project's done. Okay, so step one is complete. We're going to set that aside. Step two is to make your coils. And so here's where we're going to get creative with our coils. So you know how to roll coils, even pressure, using the entire length of your hand. Gentle pressure, moving outwards to stretch it out. Okay, and I want an even thickness from end to end. So let me set that one aside, and then I'm going to keep going. Make another one. And I'm spreading out my fingers as I go as well. Just keep going. Take some time to build up your supply so that once you get going on the actual building process, you don't have to stop and roll more coils. There's 4. Okay, so that's enough to get me started. So I'm going to be using this bowl as a form to keep my project in line, okay? To keep it nice and neat and firm and solid so that it doesn't bend in ways that I don't want it to bend in. And I'm actually not in my kitchen right now, but I have this spoon right by me, and I'm going to use it to cut with in a second. So I'm going to take my coil. Now, if your clay is the right softness or consistency, you will be able to roll it up without it breaking. All right, so I'm going to stop there. Cut this off. And I'm going to set that one aside. I'm going to do another one. And I want these to be all about the same size, so I'm kind of measuring. set that aside. This one I don't think is going to be long enough, so I'm going to go on with the next. And just keep going. This one over here, I will eventually join those together. Okay. All right, that's going to do it for now. Now I'm going to pull my plate back and I'm going to start arranging these on my plate. Excuse me, on my bowl. I think I was just working with a plate project today, so. Okay, now I'm going to start coming down the sides. Okay, so I would keep going and do the entire pot. Okay, let me set that aside and work on more coils. All right, so the areas that you have that you can still see the plate, I'm going to take a little bit of clay and just really press it in there, a little ball of clay. It's all going to get smoothed together. You want to take your time and lock up all those holes. Okay, so it's pretty good, But you're going to be left with this side. Okay? You can do a number of things on the sides. The easiest of which is just taking partial coils and fitting them in as you are able, rolling them. Oops, sorry. So I simply just took that coil and rolled it, taking a ball of clay and putting it there, a ball and putting it in there, coil, let's see, sometimes they're tricky to get to fit in your spot. Okay, oops, missed this area over here completely. Let's get a little bit of a coil right in there. Okay. So you've got your bowl covered. Your next step is to take a fork if you're at home. If you're at school, you can use a serrated metal rib. And you want to work this clay together. Not so much that you're smushing your coils on the inside, because you want the other side of the coil to stay nice and neat. But this is the side you've got to get all blended together. If you don't do this well, your entire bowl will fall apart. So I just keep rotating, changing the direction that I'm applying the pressure, making sure that the clay is really getting worked together. Don't just go one direction, go a few different directions. Alright, so when you're finished, it will look something like that, really textured. Your next step, you can use a bigger spoon or a smaller spoon, and now you're going to start smoothing. Now, if you're at school and you have access to a smooth metal rib, or if you're at a studio, a smooth metal rib will work great. But if you don't have access to that, use what you have. Many people, most people, have a spoon in their kitchen. Okay, so now I'm just going to come at it with my thumb and work the remaining clay in. Okay. All right. I would spend a little bit more time around this lip, getting this nice and evened up, smoothed out, really nice and neat. But for purposes of time in the video, I'm just going to leave it. Okay, now, after a bit of time, and I would advise you to wait before you do this. Okay, you're going to pull your plastic wrap. Okay, and once your bowl is stiff enough, you should be able to take this inside bowl out. And I can tell already that mine is a little bit stuck. Really careful. Okay. So then if you're real careful, you will be left with your texture on the inside. Okay, at this point, you're going to be tempted to mess with this rim. Don't mess with it. Just leave it. Leave it jagged. Okay, we're going to let this dry. And what I would really like to see you do is just leave it in the bowl, okay? I took mine out for purposes of the video because I wanted you to see, or leave it on the bowl rather, not in the bowl. I wanted you to see what that texture would look like. So I want to leave this on the bowl, I don't know, for at least an hour uncovered. Not more than an hour, because remember, clay shrinks. And if you are working on top of a bowl that won't shrink, if your clay tries to shrink on top of the bowl, what's going to happen? Eventually, this piece is going to crack and break because it's going to try and shrink, and it's going to have no place to go because it's going to run into this surface that can't shrink down anymore. So only leave it on here for maybe an hour to get a little bit stiffer to where you can pull it off. Okay, once it's off, and then when it's stiffer, then you can start cleaning up this edge all the way around here. Okay, but not until then.